I think one of the best ways for startups to maintain an authentic voice when scaling their social media presence is just reminding themselves that nobody's looking for perfection. You don't have to over rehearse or over edit your content. In fact, I think overly polished content makes it very clear to your audience that this is something that's manufactured. Your audience is human as well. So they're looking for humanity and authenticity. And that means that you don't have to write essay every time you post something. You don't have to make sure all your videos are 100% polished. And I think sometimes those little quirks of what you post is what makes you the most human and engaging. I think using language that you normally use when speaking to a friend, a colleague, or a prospect, using that in your social media posts, again, keeps you authentic so that when they do eventually speak to you in person, it still feels like they're speaking to the same person they've been following on social media.
I think the best way for startups to maintain an authentic voice while scaling their social media presence is pretty similar to the way that most business coaches would tell you to keep your focus on the mission, right? You are meant to, when you start a business, to craft a mission statement and every quarter circle back to that mission statement with your core team and make sure that you're still focused on what it is that you set out to do. I think maintaining your voice in social media content creation is very similar. So if you're going to be creating content that represents your brand and your business and your mission, you need to make sure that every piece of that content relates back to what it is that you're trying to do and the presence that you're trying to have on social media. So ways that you can do that while still scaling up and having a bigger social media presence, I would say include creating evergreen content that you can recycle. So having your core team, the people who are most in touch with your mission, create content that are in the voice, promoting the message that your company wants to uphold in a way that can be used over and over again, either recycled in that format or created to adapt to different formats. You can pull quotes to create images. You can use cuts of a long form video to make reels. But creating content that you can use repeatedly will make sure that the message is consistent. And then when you continue creating new content, make sure that you touch base with the folks who are really driving the voice of your company and that you're aware of what it is that you're trying to promote and what your company is trying to communicate. The way that you can get off track with that is just by going really, really quickly down the rabbit hole of bulk content without a sense of voice or brand at all. I think you need to know what your brand is, what you're about, and what your message is before you start creating a ton of content. Otherwise, down the road, you're going to have to do a really hard pivot and you might lose a lot of your audience who resonated with your original messaging, but your original messaging wasn't on brand and wasn't true to what it is that you're actually trying to do, the product you have, or the service you provide. So defining your brand early and your voice and knowing what it is that you're trying to communicate, the problem you're trying to solve, and who you're trying to reach will go a long way. And then creating evergreen content that you can recycle in multiple formats will help you scale up in a low budget way and stay true to voice.